Oh, man. Another unfortunate game for the Green Bay Packers against the Minnesota Vikings. Again, very similar to their first matchup in week 4, just too little, too late. We got a lot to talk about in this game. Appreciate you guys coming by to the channel. The Packers just lost to the Vikings for the second time this season by 2 points, 27-25 here in week 17, and are now playing for either the 6th seed or the 7th seed. Depends what happens tonight with the Commanders against the Falcons. If the Commanders win, they control their own destiny, and the Packers likely will end up the 7th seed. We'll see what happens, but man, there's a lot to talk about in this game. Yet again, just a embarrassing performance by this Packers offense against a top team in the NFL. Now, again, all the losses for the Green Bay Packers, all 5 of them are against teams with better records. So it begs the question, can the Packers hang with these top teams? Because when the playoffs happen in 2 weeks, they're only going to be playing against teams with better records than them. So you may look at the box score and you might go, this was a close game. The Packers only lost by 2. They can hang with these good teams. But, man, they played some awful, awful football all until about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and that can't continue to happen. And what continues to happen against these good teams for the Green Bay Packers is countless self-inflicted wounds. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. We're in week 17, and we had 2 illegal formation penalties that really hurt drives. We had a 12 players in the offensive huddle penalty in a week 17 game. We continue to have drops that are just destroying this offense. You know, a Jaden Reed drop on 4th and short. And a lot of people might be saying, oh, the Packers should have taken the points there. They only lost by 2, and that would have been 3 points. And I get that. I like going for it there. They just had to execute, and they simply didn't. And Jaden Reed continues to have a massive drop issue this year, and he's our leading wide receiver. He has 800 yards on the season, and yet again, the Packers likely going to finish the season without a 1,000-yard wide receiver. And Jaden Reed, I mean, just a pretty poor performance this second half of this season. And again, pretty much gets shut out of a game. And that's happened many times this year. It was just an abysmal performance by this offense and a really bad game by Jordan Love. A really bad game by this offensive line. The Minnesota Vikings simply won in the trenches on their offensive line and on their defensive line. And we'll start on the offense. I mean, Jordan Love finished 19 of 30, 185, a touchdown, and 91.7 rating. But man, he didn't really have any of that. I think he had 130 or 120 of that up until 7 minutes in the fourth. I think he had 45 passing yards in the first half. If you want to beat good teams, that simply can't happen. You can't have 45 passing yards in the first half. The Packers ran the ball pretty well. They started out strong with Josh Jacobs running the ball, but then, of course, a fumble happened, so another self-inflicted wound. Jacobs finished 17 of 69, 4.1 average and a touchdown. Emmanuel Wilson, 6 for 29, 4.8 and a touchdown. As a team, the Packers ran for 104 yards, 4.3 average. I just feel like with this offense against good teams, there's so many head-scratching moments. One of them for me was, after the 3rd and 1 that we get first down before half, and it's an illegal formation on Dontavian Wicks, backs us up to 3rd and 5. You would think 3rd and 5, down by a touchdown. You want to go tie this football game. You don't need to take a shot. You don't need to throw a deep ball, right? And if it's a 1v1 matchup, say if you do have Christian Watson for this game and it's a 1v1 matchup, and that's the look you get against maybe a heavy pressure, all right, I'll live by that. But we threw a deep ball to Bo Melton in double coverage on 3rd and 5 in a game that you're down by 1 score. You need to go down and score at least 3 because the Vikings start with the football in the second half. I feel like against good teams, we're always trying to get it all too quickly, and we're not taking what's there. And the Vikings do an excellent job at disguising coverages, disguising pressures, and Brian Flores is a wonderful defensive coordinator. But the Packers need to be better prepared for the defense that they're playing. I just saw that the Packers are pretty much saying, hey, we didn't prepare for this much man coverage by their defense, and we didn't adjust well enough. Well, you got to adjust, Matt LaFleur, right? You're an offensive-minded coach. I think he's an excellent play caller. I think he's an excellent offensive-minded coach. But the lack of adjustments in this game was just head-scratching. And then combine that with other times in this game when you're 2nd and 11 and you're running an inside run that pretty much puts you in 3rd and long regardless. I mean, it has to stop. And this isn't the first game it's happened, but I mean, you got to stop with that. Our leading receiver was Romeo Doubs, 7 catches, 58 yards, had some really impressive catch and runs late in this game. Tucker Kraft, 2 for 53. Tay Wicks, 4 for 43. Bo Melton, 3 for 18. Jaden Reed, 1 catch on 4 targets for 6 yards. It's bad. It's got to be better. And I think he has like 10 drops on the season. It's absolutely killing this offense. Malik Heath finished with a catch, 3 yards, and a touchdown. Overall, I love the resilience of the team. The fact that they didn't, just sit down and lose this game by 3 scores is awesome. And I like the resilience, but at the end of the day, it's still a loss. And not doing anything on offense, pretty much nothing on offense until 7 minutes left in the game. I mean, that's not going to cut it come playoff time. And the Vikings are a darn good football team. Don't get me wrong. But the Packers simply couldn't get out of their own way tonight. The list I have for self-inflicted wounds and mistakes by the Packers with a Jacobs fumble on drive 1, Jaden Reed drop on 4th down, Dontavian Wicks illegal formation, Edgerrin Cooper offsides on that field goal, which I don't even think was offsides, but still is a penalty, and it gave them 3 points. 12 players in the offensive huddle. Romeo Doubs drop late in this game, and Zach Tom illegal formation. I mean, we're week 17, guys. This cannot happen. And if it continues, they're going to lose in the playoffs. Now flipping over to the defense, man, there's a lot of bad in today's defense. But the one thing I will say, and the one bright spot of the entire defense tonight was definitely Edgerrin Cooper. And we continue to say this every week. I think Edgerrin Cooper just had his best game as a pro. I think he just had his best game as a pro. And we do have a star in Edgerrin Cooper. I mean, it seemed like this was the only player on our defense, making plays in the Minnesota backfield. Other than that, it was a pretty poor performance by this defense. They let up 27 points. And to be fair, you're without Evan Williams, Jair Alexander, Quay Walker, 3 starters on your defense. You have Zane Anderson as a backup safety who's playing some good ball last week and start this game. He goes out early with a concussion. Then you're forced to put Javon Bullard back at safety, and it is just abysmal. Javon Bullard definitely did not have a good game back from this ankle injury. I like him as a nickel defender, a zone read and react, early down nickel defender. I think he's good in that role. But where he really, really suffers is deep at safety and in man coverage. And he got beat twice in both of those regards. Deep at safety, the Packers opened up in a cover 2 look. They rotated into McKinney dropping into a robber, deep thirds on the outside by the cornerbacks, and Javon Bullard should have rotated in the middle to be that deep third safety in a cover 3 type of look, and he should have tracked that post by Jalen Naylor, but didn't. It was a blown coverage by Javon Bullard, and that's 100% on him, and that's why I just think he's not the best used at safety. But we had no other option. I guess Oladapo may be an option, but the Packers don't want to do that, I guess. Then the other touchdown to Jordan Addison, the long double move. I'll say this, yeah, it's bad coverage, but the Packers not getting any pressure on Sam Darnold. I can't be crazy mad at some of our coverage tonight because allowing a quarterback to sit in the pocket untouched for 4 seconds, players are going to get open regardless. So I can't get crazy mad at the coverages. Although I will say this, Jeff Hafley's running way too much cover 2 as of late, and teams are absolutely abusing it by running dagger concepts, a seam down the middle or a streak from the slot, and backside receiver or wide receiver running a deep dig behind the linebackers underneath the safety. I mean, ever since Miami, who, yeah, we won that game, but they put it on film with Tyreek Hill and all their offensive weapons. The Lions absolutely abused that. And now teams are continuing to find out that they can continue to abuse that because the Packers are playing so much cover 2. I know that Jeff Hafley is trying to play more cover 2 to kind of have, multiple defenders around players like Justin Jefferson and whatnot. But at some point, man, you got to change it up. And sending 4 every single time. And I know he did bring some other pressures with a nickel pressure or send like a gap 5-man pressure. But it simply didn't work. We got Sam Darnold on the ground once, and that was after Sam Darnold sat in the pocket for 4 seconds, and luckily we got home with Carl Brooks. Getting no pressure on Sam Darnold is how we lost this football game on defense. He finished the day 33 of 43, and when you drop back 43 times, man, and have that much time in the pocket, you're going to find receivers open. He finished with 377 yards, a career high for Sam Darnold, 3 touchdowns, an interception. We did get an interception off of him. I have no idea why he threw that, but kudos to Carrington Valentine making a play on the football, and 116.1 rating. And he's played phenomenal ball for the Minnesota Vikings this season. I don't think anyone, even Sam Darnold himself, thought this was coming. But at the end of the day, man, if you don't pressure a quarterback, or if you're sending 4 and your 4 are getting absolutely stonewalled every play, you're gonna get beat. you're going to get points scored on you. And the Packers did, because they got scored on 27 points. It didn't even matter that the Vikings didn't run the ball well. They had 69 rushing yards for a 2.7 average. It didn't matter because they didn't need to run the ball. They could drop back every single time and they still would have beat us, because we're not getting pressure on Sam Darnold. We're not getting him flustered. And I'll say this. Sam Darnold, when I watch him this year, one of the best quarterbacks at navigating the pocket. So he's really good at that. So it is kind of hard to sometimes get pressure on him, because he does a great job with his footwork, climbing the pocket, staying patient, staying composed, and firing the football to a receiver and being accurate. So I got to give credit there. But man, there's got to be some type of exotic pressure that you bring if you're Jeff Hafley, or just change something up. And they are running some disguise coverages. Like I said, the cover two, dropping McKinney pre-snap right before the snap, but Javon Bullard just blew that coverage. And the Packers are running that a lot, and it has worked against other quarterbacks, but it definitely did not work today. And I think the defensive game plan as a whole just was not good. At first, Justin Jefferson was held, I believe, without a target in the first quarter, but ended as their leading receiver, 8 catches, 92 yards. Most importantly, that I think it was 2nd 11, the last drive, getting that crosser route to make it 3rd and 2 to finish the game. Jalen Naylor went off against us, 5 catches, 81 yards, a touchdown. Jordan Addison, 6 for 69 and a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson, 5 for 68. I mean, this guy was wide open over the middle of the field all game. They were picking on Eric Wilson as that Mike, and he was dropping like 10, 15 yards into his zone, and the middle underneath of Aaron Jones and TJ Hawkinson was wide open all day. Overall, it was a poor performance by both sides of this football team, offense and defense alike. It was the worst performance by the defensive line that I've seen all year. Probably the worst performance by the offensive line that I've seen all year. Probably the worst performance by Jordan Love I've seen all year. And even all that against a 14-2 team, they did only lose by 2, and only lose, it's still a loss. I get that. But, there are some positives out of this game. The resilience to be down by, I believe, 17 points with 7 minutes left in the game. I know it was too little, too late, but the resilience there is nice to see. But there's a lot of stuff the Packers have to clean up. And they play the Bears next week, and hopefully they can start to build momentum again and go on a run and get hot at the right time entering into the playoffs. But they got to clean all these self-inflicted wounds up, and they just got to play sound football, man. To wrap things up, some injury update. Zan Anderson left with that concussion, didn't return. I think Brenton Cox Jr. left with an injury and didn't return. I'm not exactly sure, though. And then Devontae Wyatt left with a concussion as well and didn't return. So more starting players on the defense leaving with injuries. But overall, it's unfortunate. It's embarrassing. But it doesn't matter what you do in the regular season so long you make the playoffs. If you make the playoffs, it matters what you do in the playoffs. And I think the Packers do have a talented football team, right? For the second year in a row, they're the youngest football team. And for the second year in a row, they're going to make the playoffs. So it just matters about getting hot at the right time. And I hope the Packers can do that. I am confident in this football team. But I understand the other point. Hey, they have yet to beat a team with a better record than them. And that is concerning. So we'll see how it all goes down after week 18. But I am excited myself. The Packers making the playoffs 2 years in a row under the first 2 years starting of Jordan Love. That much is impressive. But I appreciate you guys coming by to the channel. If you did enjoy it, leave a like down below. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments below as well. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Pack Go.